This is my review of the Kreg track saw. Now, if you break down sheet goods a lot, this is almost a necessity to have in the shop. I've had this for about 3 or 4 weeks. I actually got it, done an initial impression, and cut several pieces of sheet goods with it. You may have saw that in the 5 woodworking tools you didn't know you needed, volume 4. You can go check that video out after this video. I used this on a project since then, and I can tell you a little bit more about it. Let's get into it. This video is brought to you by 731woodworks.com. Go check out our online store. You can find easy to follow build plans to help you make awesome projects. If you use the code TRACKSAW, you can save 20% on any purchase. Go check us out. Full disclosure, Kreg did send me this track saw and all the accessories for me to check out for this review. However, these are all my thoughts and opinions about the saw. I've neglected getting a track saw for a very long time. Although if you watched the recent breadboard coffee table build, I could have really used a track saw, because when I went to cut the ends off of the table so that the breadboard would match up, as you see here, I tried to use a straight edge and a circular saw and that didn't work. The reason that didn't work is because the straight edge actually is only clamped on both ends. You can use double-sided tape to try to help stick that center, but it doesn't always hold like it should. It'll move just a little bit and it's enough to throw things off. Also on this workbench build here, I actually done the same thing, ripping down sheet goods. This track saw will be invaluable for cutting good straight lines. Let me show you some of the features of the Kreg track saw. There's the track it actually runs on. Then it has this T-track in there, and what that does is, for one, you can use it to extend your track if you have the track extenders. This piece attaches to the end. That keeps your electrical cord or your shop vac hose or your dust collection hose from getting hung up on the end of this track. I mean, it's super simple. You set the track down where you want it on your workpiece, then you set the saw on the track. You're ready to cut. Now all you have to do is set the depth. This is the depth stop gauge. It's really simple to move and adjust. It tightens down easily. 3/4 inch plywood setting there. I love that they had that on there. You can also cut bevel cuts using the same track saw from 0 all the way to, actually you can go to 47 degrees. And the way that works is there's an override switch here that lets you go a little past that. And when you go back this way, there's an override switch that lets you go just past 0 down to -1. There are a few things that a track saw has that a regular circular saw does not. One of those being this riving knife. Very similar to a table saw, this riving knife will help prevent kickback and the blade getting bound up. This is also an anti-splinter guard. You can drop it down to your workpiece so that this prevents or helps prevent the splintering that you get a lot of times with plywood. There's also this little strip here that helps splinter guard as well. This Kreg track saw also has an anti-kickback. You flip this switch, it engages that switch right there. You can see it move. That prevents kickback from happening, which can happen on saws like this. It's a good safety feature. One thing I love is they actually included onboard tool storage so that these wrenches that help adjust and do different things with the saw is right here built into the handle. They're endless secure and you're not gonna lose those. That's a good deal. Looking from the top down onto the saw, this is our track. These are track adjustments. You can use these to eliminate any play that may be there. See it? Got a little play in it. All you have to do is tighten that a little bit and now it's gone. This saw does have variable speed from 1 all the way up to 6. It also includes this dust collection boot, or you can just hook it to a shop vac. And the dust collection port actually pivots for you. Oh my goodness, where has this been all my woodworking life? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Some really fine dust in there too. The little dust bag actually does a really good job, but when you hook it up to a shop vac, man, it's a night and day difference. It actually collects a lot more of that dust. You get a little bit from the blade throwing the dust out, but other than that, it actually sucks in a lot of dust when you actually connect it to a proper dust collection. And as far as splintering goes, or preventing any splinters, it did a really, really good job. Just an excellent cut. Man, this thing is awesome. It was extremely easy to use. It felt safe and secure on the track, which is one of the things I was kind of concerned about. Everything was just solid and it cut perfect lines every time. Color me impressed. So I actually got to use this track saw when we built our closet video coming soon on making custom built-ins. We did it all out of 3/4 inch plywood. I used the track saw for a bunch of that project. And what I really like about the track saw is how fast it was to set up. I could make my marks, I could set this on there and just go. And it was just super fast. That's one of the greatest things about a track saw is it helps you break down sheet goods extremely fast. I did use the table saw as well, especially for cross cutting because I only had one track. I've got two now. Now, one thing I will say is it's probably a marketing thing or an upsell thing. I haven't asked them, I don't know, but they should give you two tracks. As far as I know, all track saws do this. I know Festool's that way. I think Win is that way. You get basically enough track to make a cross cut across a sheet of plywood, so about 4 feet. If they gave you an extra set of track, you can make a full length 8-foot cut on a sheet of plywood, and I think that's something that just should happen. I mean, that's why you're buying the track saw. I think this is about a $100 add-on to pick up another track, and so I think that's just kind of one of those things that should be included. I know it's not. It would probably up the cost of it, and that's probably a good way to keep the cost down. I mean, they're in business for a reason, so they know what they're doing, but man, it would be nice if that track was included. One of the things I really like about the track is the fact that when you set it on the plywood, it'll stick. And the reason is it has these anti-skid, feels like foam. It's not sticky to the touch, but it'll stick to the plywood. The only thing I will caution is if this stuff gets dusty or dirty, it doesn't stick as well, which means the track will actually move a little bit when you're making that cut. So be extremely cautious with that. However, if you have any type of dovetail clamps or track clamps, what happens is it'll slide into this track. You can clamp that down to your sheet goods so that you can ensure that it doesn't move. That's actually the recommended thing, is to clamp it down so nothing moves on you. You don't want that to happen. One really cool accessory that you can actually get for this track are the parallel guides. What they are is basically a tape measure that attaches to the track in this T-slot here. And then on this side, you've got a tape measure that just pulls out. And we're gonna hook those on the edge of your plywood. And then right here, it actually has a little red mark that tells you where you're at on the measurement. So if we wanted to cut a 38-inch piece, we would just move this tape measure up to 38 inches, and then you can lock it down there. And then when you pull a little bit of pressure on it, it'll pull tight against the edge of your plywood. You come over and do the same thing on this side. Just move that mark down to that 38 inches, and then you lock that down. We'll double check our measurements. Now that's set at 38 inches, and I can set the saw on here, and this would cut that at 38 inches. On the parallel guide, you'll notice there's a little set screw right there that you can unloosen, and then you can adjust this for some micro adjustability so that you can dial this thing in precisely. Those parallel guides are just a quick, easy way to set your track saw if you're making repeatable cuts. If you needed several pieces at 24 inches and you just want to rip 24-inch strips out of your plywood, or I think it goes down to 12 inches as a minimum, and maximum is 96, so it'll do all the way up to a full sheet of plywood or 8 foot long. I like this feature. The only thing I would change about these is I don't really care for how they connect here on the track. These little plastic thumb screw things, it's okay. It could be better, but they work just fine. These are the rip guides, and the way they work is it actually goes underneath the track and contacts your workpiece that you're going to be cutting, or your stock. And down here it has this little hairline line that you can adjust the thickness of your rip cut. So for instance, if we were going to 7 inches, we'll move this aluminum bar down until it lines up with that hairline window, and then we will tighten this down at 7 inches. So if I was wanting to make a 6-inch rip, then I would just move these out to 6 inches and tighten them down. And I can set that there. Both pieces are contacting the stock underneath. That puts the edge of the track, or where the blade's gonna go, at 6 inches from the edge of the stock there. It also has a leveling foot here that goes up to 1.5 inches thick to 3/4, and then 1/2 inch. And those are clearly marked on there so you can see it. You just line it up here and then tighten it down with this thumb screw. One thing that's pretty cool is it actually comes with this carry bag. It's a good size bag. It actually holds the saw. It can hold your parallel guides as well as your rip guides. So all the accessories can be held inside one container. and zipped up for easy storage. I like that. Or if you transport this from job site to job site, it's a really good way to keep everything in one nice package. It's actually pretty lightweight as well. Everything involved in there, it's not heavy, it's not cumbersome. It's a pretty cool little add-on that you get with the saw. If you're interested in checking out this saw or any of the accessories you see today, there'll be a link in the description below. Exactly my point. While these rip guides work really well for setting up repeatable rip cuts from 0 to 13 inches, I believe it is, they're just meh. And as my wife says, if things are just meh, then you kind of just move on from it. I really don't care for the rip guides. It reminds me of the Kreg Rip Cut. If you've seen me use that on multiple projects on the channel, that works extremely well with any circular saw. These rip guides are from, like I said, 0 to 13 inches, where these parallel guides pick up at 12 inches. So there's actually a gap, and you can't substitute this for these. However, I really don't think you need the rip guide, because I'm not gonna say they're bad, but they're not great. You don't want to be in that middle ground, I wouldn't think, on something like that. As you saw, that little clear window that sets over the top of it with the line that basically guides you where to put the mark at or where you're going to be cutting falls off extremely easy, and I've lost both of them now. There's one over there, and I don't even know where the other one's at. Conversely, the parallel guides are well made. There's good tension on the tape measure. They're still plastic, but they still feel a little more solid. I like them a lot better. I like that they have the red guide to show you exactly where your mark's going to be. You can lock that down. Everything just, it works well with the parallel guides. Another thing I don't care for is this end piece that goes on the end of the track saw that actually is supposed to keep your cord and your dust hose from getting caught on the end of the track. It works to do that, but it just doesn't stay on there well, mainly because it only has one point of contact that is tightening down in this groove of the track. And then the other is there's a little tab underneath there that slides onto the track to hold it, and it actually doesn't just hold it, it just sits there. So it actually keeps moving and falling off. That's why maybe the B-roll you saw, I didn't have it on there, and I put it in a drawer because it keeps coming off and I don't use it. So the Kreg track saw is actually a part of an adaptive cutting system, as they've named it. There's the only thing that I don't have in that system is the project table. If there's interest from you guys that want to see a review on the adaptive cutting system with the table included, let me know that. I'll see if I can get my hands on the project table to do a review on. If you want it, let me know in the comments. I'll put a link in the description below to the project table. You can go check it out. That way you can see, kind of gauge for yourself if you'd like to actually see a video on it from me. So stay tuned, there will be a giveaway on the saw tracks, everything you saw included with this system in a couple of months. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, bell icon, all, so you get notified of all the new content so you don't miss that giveaway. After having used this saw for a good whole project, building an entire closet built-in system like you see here, I can say that this thing is a good tool. I think it's worth the price they're asking for it. I just wish they would include a track, and then I also wish that these rip guides were just a little better. I don't care for those. But as far as the saw goes, the track and all that stuff, it's really good. One thing that I did notice after using it several times over multiple cuts is, even though it has the splinter guard, even though it has the basically zero clearance on the track, it started splintering a little bit, but that's probably because the saw blade has started getting a little dull, because I made a lot of cuts with it. So I'll probably pick up another blade for it. Other than that, I give this one a thumbs up. It's a good tool, a good system. I like what they've done here. If you like this video and you want to see more tool reviews like this, click that box right there. If you click that box, you get that big old virtual fist bump. Also, another one of my favorite tool review videos right there.